This is Hinos Sport bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. Now let's get on to the video. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't believe him. Oh, I didn't hoop all throughout the shutdown. I don't believe it because your frame tells me otherwise, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You may have not hooped all of the times, but I do believe that you actually picked up a basketball. See, this is the thing that people need to understand with top athletes. He knows his sport. When I said that these athletes are sloppy and they're not up to par, I'm not sitting here saying that they're just completely not doing anything. If a top athlete does that, then what separates them from the normal person? Let me say it again. If a top athlete does that, what separates them from the normal person? Really nothing. Top athletes are top athletes for a reason because they train a certain way. They have certain trainers, they have a certain diet, they have a certain way that they govern themselves. That's the disciplined ones. Because you also have non-disciplined ones. And we have to be mature enough here, and we have to be basically in full disclosure enough here to admit that. Because there are athletes, they just don't have no discipline. And we're not talking about those. They're just top athletes because of the fact that they play a sport that says that they're top athletes, but they really have the mindset of a normal civilian. I'm talking about the top athletes that are disciplined to their craft, that actually go out there and do what they got to do. Giannis Antetokounmpo fits that bill. So yes, there is some hooping going on. There is some working out going on. There is some training going on. It's just not consistent. Now people are like, he knows the sport. You're contradicting yourself, man, because you said these players are sloppy, man. They're not doing what they're supposed to. Listen, and shout outs to I love this game. Shout outs to the system. I hope one of these days you can come to the panel. You know what I'm saying? So he knows the sport is always wanting new people to come to the panel so that we can, you know what I'm saying, deliver that heat and that fire and keep the foot on the what? On the next. And keep the foot on the what? On the next. We're always looking for new talent. Anyways, let's get back onto the video. What we agreed and disagreed on in a very mature discourse like adults do, not Rudy pulling plum brains, not classic Dolce and troglodytes, not ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric, i.e., or in this case, ultra fangirls with the ultra fangirl rhetoric. We agreed to disagree that these athletes are not training, or they are training, etc., etc. Some of them are, but here's the thing: the reason why this NBA restart or this NBA reboot is going to be nonsense, or it's the least path of resistance, is because of the fact that LeBron James is the only one that's consistently training. Everybody else is not training like LeBron, not even Giannis Antetokounmpo, because everybody else thought that this NBA season was for naught. And usually, even some of the most disciplined people, when situations like this arise, where it's beyond the mundane thing of basketball. It's not the person just all of a sudden lost their discipline. It's just there are bigger fish to fry. There's just more important things going on. So even a person of that stature can put certain things aside and say, you know what? We have to focus on other things. When you have all of these mitigating factors going on, it's not wise to have an NBA season. Because what happens is, now you're trying to play basketball in a time to where it really is not advantageous. It really does not make the most sense. It really is not what you want it to be. You see what I'm saying? You got COVID going on. We're in the second phase of this thing. Cases are rising. As soon as contact happens on the basketball court, trust and believe the spread is going to take place. See, the NBA is all smiling up and dandy and happy because no one has gotten anything in being in Orlando. That's because they're not having full contact 5-on-5. When this happens, whether there's a fanless experience or not, which it's going to be that, and that's going to take away from the luster of the NBA, right? It's going to cause a rippling effect because the rise is going to take place because they are already common sense in an area or a bubble of rise. Remember, they're not going to just be staying at the Walt Disney ESPN World Sports Complex. You know, Sport talked about this the other day. These players engage in debauchery. They engage in drugs. They engage in women. They engage in all kinds of nonsense and craziness. MJ kind of alluded this in The Last Dance. That's confirmation of what he knows sports talking about. Anyone that understands anything about sports knows that these athletes engage in the weirdest things. So in doing these things, they're going to have to do it with other human beings. Because you don't just do these things by yourself. Otherwise, you're just twiddling your thumb and that's just no fun. But when that happens, what do you think that's going to take place when these players have to get in a cesspool being together around each other and playing contact basketball? People are going to get cut. These things happen in basketball. People are going to basically hurt each other. People are going to injure each other. These things happen in basketball. People are going to be breathing on one another. Why am I talking about the breathing component? Because it's an airborne virus, meaning it affects your lungs. What is the essential function of the lung? It requires oxygen. Oxygen, i.e., breathing. So something's going to happen, y'all. So I get it when Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying, I ain't hoop ball something. You know what I'm saying? I ain't pick up a basketball. We know he was lying about that. But the gist of what I'm trying to say is Giannis Antetokounmpo actually was training. I don't believe him. Like Scottie Pippen, I actually agree. I don't believe the nonsense. But was he training like LeBron James? See, that's the context of this. Was any of these guys training like LeBron James? LeBron James was the only one training as if nothing happened because LeBron James is a Class A narcissist and he's self-absorbed by himself. Trust and believe. When you discern somebody and you know their ability and you know how they operate, you can basically put it out there on Jump Street for people to see this for what it is. This NBA title, the cockamamie version, the fraudulent, fluky, on-the-spot version, is set up for LeBron James to win. And when he wins, his LeBron tards are going to justify this stuff. Because they're going to say, man, look at how he won. He won during the Kobe Bryant tragedy. He won during COVID. He won during BLM. I mean, Jordan never faced this. That's what they're going to say, y'all. Remember, He Knows the Sport was the first one to say this. I'm going to say this again. Michael Jordan never won during COVID. He never won during BLM, man. He never won during the Kobe Bryant tragedy, man. Look at what all LeBron had to face, the adversity, and he won an NBA title during all of this. That's going to be their way to bring the guy up and justify it. How does this correlate with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Scottie Pippen? It correlates very much because although Giannis Antetokounmpo was lying about him not picking up a hoop, he wasn't always picking up a hoop. But LeBron was. You see how all of this ties and connects? So again, recap. Giannis lied out of his mouth, two sideways out of his mouth. But LeBron is set for the cards and the decks to stack up so that this guy could win an NBA title. And what Giannis is doing, and he doesn't realize it, and I just think he's missing a few screws to get it, is he's actually making LeBron look more justified in this cockamamie, fraudulent, fluky, on-the-spot NBA championship the more he runs his freaking mouth. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm going to say this in the best way. Stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. Go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. LeBron James is set up to win this title. LeBron tards are going to get behind it. They're going to say this is the greatest thing they've ever seen. It is what it is. But real recognizes real. And guess what? You guys will have video data to remember He Knows the Sport was the one to roll this thing out on the red carpet and tell you guys this the cold-hearted, the unadulterated, and the cutthroat true teller fashion of how things were going to be. Make sure you guys go to the HeKnowsTheSport.com website, click the link, hit the sign up button, register the website. Make sure you guys check out the shop page, check out the He Knows the Sport merch. We got the hottest merch in the game. And make sure you guys visit the website for the latest and the greatest news from HeKnowsTheSport.com. At the end of the day, He Knows the Sport did what? He kept the foot on the what? On the next. He kept the foot on the what? On the next. This is He Knows the Sport. Check it out.